Okay, if I could ask members leaving the chamber to do so as quickly and as quietly as possible, as we're moving on to the final item of business, which is a members' business debate on motion 18576 in the name of Liz Smith on celebrating residential outdoor education for young people. The debate will be concluded without any questions being put. I'd invite members wishing to participate to press the request to speak buttons. I call on Liz Smith. Around 7 minutes. Ms Smith.
Thank you. Can I begin this debate by thanking all those in the outdoor education sector for their outstanding commitment to our young people and for their unrelenting support throughout the passage of this bill to date. I particularly want to thank Nick March, Martin Davidson and Phil Thompson, who have been with me on the journey of this for 3 years. Now, let me start with PGL Dalguise in my own constituency area, where the focus in what was particularly a very busy summer recess visiting several of our outdoor centres, it was very much on inclusion and on the delivery of quality services for all our young people, including those with disability. I saw there remarkable outdoor climbing facilities and improvements across the board when it comes to accommodation for those with additional support needs. The same was true at the wonderful new facilities at Lochiel. Indeed, everywhere I went, there was the strongest possible desire to support young people who would otherwise not get the opportunity for that experience should these facilities not be there. But let me make it abundantly clear why I am so frustrated by the Scottish Government's persistent intransigence when it comes to residential outdoor education, and why I have felt compelled to lay this motion. Firstly, the SNP 2021 manifesto, similar to that of other parties, says this: learning outside the classroom is an essential part of education. Children should not miss out simply because their parents cannot afford the cost. We will support schools to provide inclusive trips and activities for all and ensure consistent practice across Scotland. And going forward, we will ensure that less well-off families do not face costs for curriculum-related trips and activities, and that all pupils are able to attend rite-of-passage trips such as P7 residentials. That's the SNP manifesto. Secondly, if there is a growing and overwhelming body of evidence from young people themselves about the benefits of residential outdoor education, rehearsed many times in this chamber and in the Education Committee, and cited in their many letters to MSPs, most especially in terms of improving their attainment at school, their attendance levels, their behaviour and mental welfare, where on earth is the logic of not pursuing this bill at a time when many schools are suffering from weak attainment, weak attendance levels, poor behaviour and a deterioration in mental well-being? Thirdly, I will in a minute. Thirdly, given that the bill had passed at stage 1, the Minister made commitments on the record at the Education Committee so that she would, like me, bring forward suggested stage 2 amendments, and that she would come forward with what the Scottish Government saw as an affordable bill. But none of that has happened, which is why the Minister is being recalled to the Education Committee tomorrow. But fourthly, if the Minister allows this bill to fall, it would be the only time in the history of the Scottish Parliament where a bill passes at stage 1, but the government of the day seeks to undermine the will of Parliament by refusing to lodge a financial resolution. And so I ask not just the Minister, but the Parliament to reflect on that, because, quite frankly, it is undemocratic. Yes, I will.
Martin Whitfield.
I'm very grateful to Liz Smith to take the intervention. And after a very articulate opening to her speech, does she not capture in a nutshell the essential moment here, that the Scottish Government is undermining the will of this Parliament?
Liz Smith.
Yes, absolutely, Mr Whitfield, because the bill passed comfortably at stage 1, with members, including several in the SNP, wanting the bill to progress to stage 2 so that the technical details could be further pursued. And again, I thank colleagues across the chamber, whether it's in the SNP, the Greens, the Labour Party, ourselves and the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, individuals like Pam Duncan-Glancy, Martin Whitfield, Ross Greer, Fergus Ewing, Willie Rennie, Jamie Green and several other members, and of course the Education Committee and Douglas Ross as convener. Yes, I will.
John Mason.
I thank the member for giving way. Would she accept that the key problem here is finance, and that because she wants to make this a universal benefit and it would cost somewhere in the question of £30 million, that is the problem. If it was targeted, there might be more support.
Liz Smith.
Well, Mr Mason, if you've been reading your submissions to the Education Committee, then perhaps the member will be able to see that I have reduced the cost of the bill quite substantially and targeted in a way that I think would benefit those most in need. And in case the Minister is in any doubt at all that that Stage 1 vote reflected agreement across the Chamber to implement some kind of non-statutory or some sort of pilot measure, that is incorrect, because members understood that other non-statutory and policy initiatives in the past haven't worked. And as Willie Rennie quite rightly pointed out very articulately in committee evidence, they haven't been working for a long time. Now, I need not remind the Chamber of my view that if the Scottish Government does not act now to bring forward legislation that is proven to have such a positive impact on so many youngsters, then I think that is tantamount to failing them. The UK Government, on the other hand, understands the urgency. That was exemplified by the Prime Minister in August unveiling an £88 million investment for high-quality extracurricular activity, including outdoor education, to rebuild confidence and reconnect young people with the world around them. So young Scots must not be left behind because of inaction from this government. During our meetings, the Minister asked me to present ways in which the cost of the bill could be reduced before a resolution will be considered. I did so, and as I've explained, I made targeted adjustments, particularly around age groups and additional support needs. By refining these cost estimates and focusing support on primary school children eligible for free school meals or on the Scottish Child Payment, the bill will continue to deliver for those most in need with a significantly reduced funding model. The Scottish Government, however, has not followed its side of the bargain by telling me what it sees as an affordable bill, or by bringing forward potential amendments for Stage 2, which the Minister did promise at the Education Committee, or by declaring an official position on any of my alternative funding proposals. All I get is that this bill is not affordable. Yet the Scottish Government seems to contend that when it comes to spending money, hundreds of millions of pounds can be spent on a ferry fiasco, on cost of delayed discharge, and if the Scotsman newspaper is anything to go by, it doesn't see the need to recoup £36 million from Social Security Scotland overpayments. Now, as we all know, Deputy Presiding Officer, politics is about choices and priorities. That is any government's prerogative. But what I don't understand in this case is why the Minister has chosen to isolate herself from the rest of Parliament and from the outdoor education sector, particularly given the commitment that the SNP made in 2021. So as I wind up, I want to finish with one very straightforward question, which I urge the Minister to answer in her speech at the end of the debate. Will the Scottish Government finally lodge the financial resolution before the deadline of the 26th of September? Yes or no? If the Minister is just playing for time, hoping the bill that will fall without a fight, then she misunderstands Parliament. But just as worryingly, she misunderstands our schools and our education system, which is allegedly built on the principles of inclusion, of fairness, on levelling up opportunities and on building the much-needed resilience in our young people. And I move the motion.
Thank you, Ms Smith. Just to advise the Chamber, there's a lot of interest in participating in the debate. I want to get everybody who's pressed the request to speak buttons in, but I'll require them to stick to their speaking time allowance. We move to the open debate. I call first Fulton McGregor to be followed by Douglas Ross. Up to 4 minutes. Mr McGregor.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and thank you to Liz Smith for bringing this debate to the Chamber this evening. And can I say at the outset, from my own involvement with the cross-party group in outdoor education, I can attest that Liz Smith is a very committed and incredibly hard-working advocate for outdoor learning, as I think we all know in this chamber. But I think it's important that we sometimes say that across party where that credit is due. Outdoor education is a powerful and proven way of enhancing young people's learning experiences, broadening their horizons and supporting their well-being. When Stage 1 of this debate was heard in this chamber last March, members heard that spending time in nature has been found to ease anxiety, lower stress and alleviate symptoms of depression, while also boosting mood and promoting overall well-being, so important for our children in this digital age. In addition to these health benefits, outdoor experiences give children valuable opportunities to build essential life skills such as communication, problem solving, teamwork and confidence. And teachers have also contributed to this discussion and shared that outdoor learning strengthens classroom engagement, supports social connections and allows children to push beyond their comfort zones. It helps them grow independence and face challenges within a safe, structured setting, and this approach reflects a broader understanding of the importance of holistic education, one that nurtures both academic success and student well-being. The Scottish Government has long recognised the value that outdoor education can bring, and opportunities are already being supported through established initiatives such as the Scottish Attainment Challenge and pupil equity funding. These measures provide schools and communities with the flexibility and resources to ensure that young people, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, can access enriching outdoor learning experiences. And importantly, this support is not dependent on the passing of new legislation. It's embedded in current practice and can be developed further within the existing framework. And I see some of that within my own schools, within my own constituency. Different schools trying different things with an outdoor basis. It's also important to recognise that work in this area has been conducted over many years and continues to evolve. Improvements to our outdoor education provision can and should continue, but not exclusively through legislation. Schools, local authorities and community partners are already making strides, and there is scope for them to build upon this progress without introducing any legislation as such. And while I welcome the passion behind the proposals, as I've already mentioned, I truly understand the work that Liz Smith has put into this. The financial realities must be acknowledged. That's not me taking a particular view on what Liz Smith's outlined just now, but I do think that they do need to be acknowledged. And I know that opposition parties have been persistent in their calls to the Scottish Government to provide additional funding or reallocate existing funds to cover the measures set out in this bill, but no clear indication where those reallocations should come from. And if cuts are to be made to existing budgets, where should they come from? But I do hear what Liz Smith has said today, that she has cut the financial proposals within the bill, and that again is to her credit. Nevertheless, Presiding Officer, I do remain a strong believer in outdoor education, and 5 years ago I want to put this on the record as well as I've done before. I raised my strong objections to the closure of Colbowie Outdoor Centre in Oban, which provided week-long residential courses for primary 7 pupils in North Lanarkshire and allowed them to try a range of water sports and adventure activities. The closure of this facility was a great loss to North Lanarkshire's young people and truly deprived them of their opportunity to flourish in an outdoor learning environment away from home, and it was really met with some, real opposition to that locally from people. The closure of the outdoor centre meant that for some children in my constituency and across North Lanarkshire, their only chance of experiencing a holiday or outdoor recreation was ultimately removed. So I can understand the concerns of the Scottish Government around about the finances, but we need to make sure that another Colbowie doesn't happen in another area like North Lanarkshire, and perhaps there's bits of the bill that could protect that from happening. So I end on that basis. I do think I thank Liz Smith for bringing forward both today's debate and the bill, but we do need to look at the financial aspects that I know the Government will talk about and summing up. Thanks.
Thank you. Douglas Ross to be followed by Pam Duncan-Glancy. Up to 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Can I start by congratulating Liz Smith for the way she's introduced this debate today, the motion we have in front of us, which I think is very strong and strong for a reason, but to also credit Liz Smith for the way she has taken this bill through Parliament over the last 3 years and what she has achieved today, and I hope she achieves going forward. I think Liz Smith will be set as an example for future parliamentarians and future parliaments on how a non-government member can take a nucleus of an idea and bring it forward to a bill which can command significant cross-party support. And that's exactly what a non-government bill should be doing, looking at an area where we can improve things in lives and opportunities for people, in this case young people, take on board suggestions from others, but in an area where the Government have decided they're not going to legislate, and do all the hard work, the hard graft. And I know Liz Smith has previously said this, also members of the Non-Government Bills Unit, who don't, I think, get enough praise in this Parliament for what they've done to get this bill to this stage. And as someone who has also got a non-government bill in the process at the moment, I do think Liz Smith is an excellent example for how members should be impassioned, determined and absolutely forthright in their views to get this onto the statute book. And that's why I share her frustration and disappointment that we're here again this evening, because I sat through all the evidence sessions as convener in the Education Committee looking at this bill and scrutinising it, and I heard almost nothing but praise. There were some people that raised concerns, like John Mason, about finance, and I'll come on to that in a moment. But when people just looked at what this bill was seeking to do, how it seeks to do it, and the opportunities it provides, it is literally breaking down barriers. At the moment, not enough young people have the opportunities to benefit from residential outdoor education. And we heard those who do can make a huge difference to their school life. Fulton McGregor was speaking about choices that have to be made and cut somewhere and money taken elsewhere. I personally think this is a spend to save. I think spending money in this area can create the opportunities we need for young people and the positive benefits that we heard from teachers and educationalists that will be delivered by making this a more universal approach. And I have this dichotomy that I think £30 million is a lot of money, but I also think it is a drop in the ocean for a government that has hundreds of millions, billions of pounds to spend. And I echo Liz Smith's point that this is about choices now. This is about the government choosing to support the residential outdoor education sector, to support the campaigners who want this bill to pass, and to support young people now and in the future to get the opportunities we all know they deserve and need. I will briefly give way.
John Mason, briefly.
I thank the member for giving way. As well as the financial aspects, there's the question of teachers. If this becomes a statutory duty, would they be required to go?
Douglas Ross.
This is a point that we looked at in committee, and again I had some unease with the Minister's response to this, in that Liz Smith, as the member in charge, should go to COSLA and negotiate teacher contracts about this. That is a tripartite issue that can be resolved, I hope, and we heard from teachers who were very positive about the experiences of outdoor education, and I think that can be developed as the bill develops. But at the moment, we have a chopping block, which is going to come down, a knife is going to come down on this bill in just a few days' time, unless the Minister, who I see as the roadblock to this legislation, takes a decision. And I hope, in the last few seconds I have, that the Minister does respond positively to Liz Smith's last question, because this is now on the government. They can either take the approach that this Parliament has supported the bill at stage 1 and therefore they will support a financial resolution going forward, or they can take the unprecedented and I think dangerous step of refusing to allocate funding to a bill that will make a huge difference. And I hope we get that answer tonight. If we don't, I can assure the Minister she'll be questioned on it first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you.
May I call Pam Duncan-Glancy to be followed by Annabel Ewing, up to 4 minutes. Ms Duncan-Glancy.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and I want to start today by thanking Liz Smith for securing this debate and for all the hard work that she's put in to bringing the outdoor education bill to this Parliament. Because, like most of the people who have spoke so far and who gave evidence to the committee, and those who have had the opportunity to enjoy outdoor education, I remember my own school residential fondly, where my classmates went canoeing and climbing, and my school designed an accessible drama residential for me and some fellow classmates. I loved it. We had fun, we learned, and crucially, it helped my peers to see that I was just like them. It also showed that action to make equal participation is possible. It needs thought, planning and support, but it can and should happen. And everyone should have the opportunity to get everything they can out of our education system. Outdoor education is a key part of it. It supports resilience, nourishes friendships, encourages confidence and independence, and has been shown to improve attainment. And so I'd also like to thank the residential outdoor education centres across Scotland, who give people structured time away from classrooms to do this work, to grow confidence, to work with others, to try things they wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do. And to thank them for the work that they're doing to improve accessibility across all of their estate. And as I will go on to say, the committee has heard great evidence of the work that is being done, and were inspired by the work that could yet become if the bill were to progress. Therefore, as other members have spoken this evening have said, I am concerned by the fact that a financial resolution has not yet been provided by the Government for Liz Smith's bill. A failure to provide one before the 27th of September deadline would be an abdication of responsibility to this Parliament and to our young people by this Government, who appear to be using parliamentary processes to stifle progress of a bill that Parliament wants to see considered, debated and progressed. Their failure to preside the resolution would not be a judgment of this bill on merit, but an expiry by inaction. And our young people deserve better than that. The case for proceeding is practical and evident, and Parliament want it. Attendance has dipped in too many places, engagement is fragile, staff are dealing with behaviour pressures and support around children to deal with everyday life is shrinking by the day. A well-run residential is not a cure-all, and the member knows, of course, that there is still work to do on certain aspects of the bill to maximise its potential, work that I believe can and should be done at stage 2. But I am clear this bill is a credible lever to address issues in schools and deliver opportunity for all by building trust, reconnecting pupils with learning and giving them motivation and momentum that carries back into the classroom. There is clear support across this chamber for the bill. The Parliament wants the bill to progress, and it's time the Government made their position clear too, because, Presiding Officer, stage 2 is, of course, where Parliament can settle details that matter on the ground, so like how any duty is introduced, how safeguarding ratios are specified, how transport and accommodation is organised, and crucially how pupils with additional support needs participate on equal terms, accessible activities as standard, the right support in place and funding routes that schools can actually use. All issues we are ready and willing to debate, negotiate and resolve at stage 2 if the Government make their position clear and do the right thing. As I've said, my own support for this bill is something which is deeply personal to me, shaped not just by my personal experience, by the fact that I know what can be achieved by the provision of outdoor education, which is accessible to all, but that which I've heard in committee. When I was young, I found it difficult to go and stay over at friends' households because many of them didn't live in accessible houses, which is fine, but a residential gave me an opportunity to do that. This is a constructive and impressive contribution, one which I thank the member for. The sector has engaged in good faith. Young people have made it clear what this means for them. Parliament has asked to get on with the scrutiny, and now we are calling on the Government to deliver on what has been asked of them. A bill backed at stage 1 should not be denied progression simply because basically the Government is not happy to put their money where their mouth is or where Parliament has asked them to act. I think it's weak government, actually. And if the Government have reservations about detail, they should negotiate them at stage 2 to get a bill like the rest of us will have to do, not frustrate all of our rights to scrutinise it. I think the Government must now bring the financial resolution, put the figures on the table and allow the bill to progress. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you. I now call Annabel Ewing to be followed by Jamie Green. Up to 4 minutes. Ms Ewing.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I too would like at the outset to congratulate Liz Smith on securing a members' debate on the subject of residential outdoor education for young people. As has already been highlighted by other members who have contributed to the debate thus far, this evening, residential outdoor education is indeed a hugely rewarding experience for young people. It contributes, as we have heard, to self-esteem, to self-reliance, to leadership skills. It also encourages, of course, teamwork, self-confidence and indeed helps to improve attainment. Outdoor residential education supports the ethos of curriculum for excellence and sits well, of course, with the GURFIC principles. The wider societal benefits are axiomatic and are fully in line with the Christie principles on preventative spend, and I would urge the Minister to reflect on the importance of the Christie principles on preventative spend as we talk about difficult budgetary issues. And whilst it is fair to say that some progress has been made since the Scottish Government set out its vision for outdoor learning in 2010, the fact of the matter is that accessing residential outdoor education remains unequal in its provision across Scotland. And ensuring equal opportunity is the key objective of the bill being proposed by Liz Smith, and one that I was therefore very happy to support at stage 1 in March of this year. At that time, the Scottish Government Minister promised Parliament that she would act in good faith and seek to work with the member to find a way forward, taking into account the various challenges highlighted by the Education, Children and Young People Committee in its Stage 1 report. These included issues regarding funding, the impact on teachers and the universality of application. I am aware that in the intervening period, that as regards the important issue of funding, for example, the member has highlighted potential alternative models of funding for consideration, and I note also from what the member has said this evening is that she has proposed at the same time a more targeted approach, thereby reducing the overall level of funding that would be required. What is not clear to me is where matters stand with respect to these discussions, nor indeed to what extent the Government has in fact actively worked at pace with the member over the intervening months to explore solutions. There is, as we have heard, very little time for the Government to lodge a financial resolution. And surely, if good faith is to prevail here, a financial resolution should be lodged so that the bill can proceed to stage 2. That is, after all, what the Parliament voted for at stage 1. That would indeed allow members to table amendments to get the bill over the line whilst meeting the legitimate concerns that have been raised. And I believe in this respect that there is indeed cross-party support to try and find workable solutions. Inaction will not do young people across Scotland any favours, nor will kicking the can down the road. In conclusion, Presiding Officer, I have seen at first hand how important access to residential outdoor education is, in the shape of a stay at the Outward Bound Centre at Lochiel offered to those pupils participating in the Mark Scott Leadership for Life Award scheme. As a former Minister for Community Safety and Legal Affairs, I met with the participating young people over some 3 years and could see how transformational this experience was for them. And whilst always full of admiration for Mark's parents and indeed all those involved, I did feel at the time that it was a great pity that our government did not consider that it had a key role to play in ensuring that all young people had the same opportunity, irrespective of where they lived in Scotland. I urge the Minister, therefore, to do the right thing, to do the bold thing and to do the fair thing, and to now lodge a financial resolution so that the bill can pass to stage 2 for further and detailed scrutiny. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Ms Ewing. I now call Jamie Green to be followed by Brian Whittle, up to 4 minutes. Mr Green.
Thank you. Can I pay tribute to Liz Smith, not just for securing this debate, but her relentless work on this issue. It's truly a passion for Ms Smith, and it's a worthy passion. I supported the general principles of her bill when I sat next to her on those benches, and I still support those general principles of her bill today. As others have done, I want to pay tribute to those amazing residential centres right across Scotland, particularly those in my own region, the two on Arran, the Field Studies Centre in Millport and others in neighbouring Dunoon. They offer extraordinary potential for young people in my region, particularly those who hitherto really had very little opportunity to experience the outdoors and active education. Now, in the Stage 1 debate on this, I spoke and I talked about my own experiences, as many others did, but I also talked about why this bill matters. Those arguments today remain just as relevant, but today's debate is different. Today's debate is different for 3 reasons: because of the urgency of the matter, the timescales that we're looking at, because of the processes involved. Let us not forget this Parliament has a 3-stage process for making legislation, particularly members' bills, and it is absolutely right and proper that we give these bills that opportunity to progress. But thirdly is the will of the Parliament, but also the will in government. Where is the will in government to progress this legislation? I have a horrible feeling that it does not exist anymore, because that good faith that was promised after Stage 1 has yet to come to fruition. In March this year, 64 members of this Parliament voted in favour of this bill at Stage 1. Only 1 voted against. That is a really powerful endorsement of the general principles that every young person, no matter what the background, should have the opportunity of residential outdoor experience guaranteed. I would go as far as saying to the Minister, if we held that vote again today, I think it would pass again. I think it would pass again, and that should tell the government exactly what it needs to hear. If this bill falls because the government does not come forward with a financial resolution, it will not be because this Parliament rejected it. It will be because the government is not willing to negotiate in good faith to allow it to progress through the due process that it should be afforded. In fact, as Liz Smith said, it will be the first time in this Parliament's history that such a Stage 1 bill would have been vetoed by process. I think that is a betrayal to this Parliament, to the young people who will benefit from this legislation, and a betrayal to the outdoor education sector, who absolutely back this education bill. Let's not forget it was the government's own promise to commit to this. So the question really is not just is there political consensus. I think there is. The question is whether the government itself is walking away from its own pledges, its own manifesto commitments. Of course we can talk about the affordability. Of course every policy comes with a price tag. But the proposals and the revised costings that have come forward, as Douglas Ross said, are a drop in the ocean. It is a small price to pay, considering the benefits. Of course, the government can disagree with the figures that have been proposed, but it is incumbent on the government to come back with alternative proposals. It is incumbent on the government to do its own modelling. It is incumbent on the government to lodge a financial memorandum to let this bill progress to the next phase. Now, it still yet may fail at stage 3. Who knows what will happen at that point? But at least let's have that discussion, let's have that debate, and let's give this bill due process. Outdoor education improves confidence, it boosts attainment, it supports well-being, it helps prevent future challenges in health, in justice and in social care. We all know this already. It's backed by evidence. For every £1 invested in outdoor education, it saves £3 to £5 in other areas of public sector. That is investing in our children's future. It is smart public spending. The government faces a simple choice. Let this bill fall and disrespect the will of Parliament, or prove to Scotland's youth and our outdoor education sector that it supports them. And I make that plea to government today. Listen to the will of Parliament and get on with it.
Thank you. I now call Brian Whittle to be followed by Martin Whitfield. Up to 4 minutes, Mr. Whittle.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I also begin by thanking my friend and colleague Liz Smith for bringing this debate to the Chamber and for her relentless work in developing our Members' Bill on the promotion of universally available outdoor learning. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to once again speak today on one of my favourite topics. I wanted to share some of my outdoor learning experiences. At Glexnock House, during a weekend away studying O-level geology, we studied the Lugar Sill and igneous intrusions and sedimentary rock and in the Lugar mine, and we learned limestone pavements and clints and grikes. But it was during a discussion about fossils when the lecturer actually asked us what we thought the first living thing on Earth was. And a student put her hand up and confidently declared that it would be a Brontosaurus. And I have to say, every time I think about that, I picture this primordial Earth with all the ingredients of life waiting to be energised, and all of a sudden, Brontosaurus. And that makes me laugh out loud every time I think about that. Now, Deputy Presiding Officer, you're thinking there's a bit of a strangled route to an educational benefit, but the point is that is a shared experience that I remember. And every time I meet up with a friend from back then, it always comes up. Yes, we learned what we were supposed to in a real live environment, but we also learned about interaction and camaraderie and making lifetime memories. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating that children and young people should follow our lead in some of our behaviour, but they should get the opportunity to access learning in a variety of ways, create their own great memories from school. Changing the venue and experience can change people's thought process. Not every pupil is at their best learning in a classroom. Expand the horizons of learning, bring learning to life, connect with real environments, and new opportunities open up for them for their futures. If we only offer a narrow educational path, we will only cater for those for whom that pathway works. There are elements of education and personal development that are crucial in the classroom that are far better learned outside the classroom. We can confidently assert that challenges of residential courses demonstrate to young people learning skills such as planning and budgeting and leadership and team development, resilience, confidence, managing difficult situations in real-life situations. Now, that sounds like middle management to me, and you pay a fortune to attain those skills. If we are to properly tackle health inequality and the attainment gap, I would strongly advocate we need to ensure that the inequality in access to residential outdoor experiential learning is tackled. And my concern is, like in sport and activity, experiential learning is more and more becoming a personal learning and development tool for those who have, and excluding those who have not. Deputy Presiding Officer, the outdoor residential learning is absolute epitome of preventable spend, and perhaps one of the very best ways of investing in our children's experiential learning. Surely, Deputy Presiding Officer, all our children and young people deserve the opportunity to have their own Brontosaurus story. Deputy Presiding Officer.
Thank you. I now call Martin Whitfield to be followed by John Mason. Up to 4 minutes, Mr. Whitfield.
I'm very grateful, Deputy Presiding Officer. And it's normal to start by saying what a pleasure it is to speak in a debate. And it's certainly a pleasure to follow Brian Whittle. And can I start by reaffirming my strong support for the Schools Residential Outdoor Education Scotland Bill, a bill that has already received the backing of this Parliament at stage 1, and as we've heard, carries the hopes of countless young adults, educators, children, outdoor education providers across Scotland. And I want to thank the sponsoring member, Liz Smith, both for her tenacity with this bill, but also in securing tonight's debate. This bill is not just about outdoor learning, it is about equity. It is about ensuring that every child, regardless of background, has the opportunity to experience the confidence, the resilience, the teamwork, that residential outdoor education uniquely provides. And yet, despite the clear will of Parliament, I am deeply concerned that the Scottish Government's lack of engagement is putting this bill at risk, and that is why it is not my usual pleasure to speak in this debate. In a meeting held on the 12th of August this year, confirmed in a letter from Liz Smith MSP, the member made clear that the Government has no position on a revised policy proposals, including limiting the bill to primary pupils or targeting provision to those experiencing poverty or with additional support needs. The Scottish Government has not defined what level of cost it considers affordable. The Scottish Government has not conducted financial modelling on any of the proposals submitted. The Scottish Government has not produced draft amendments. Despite a commitment, a promise, an undertaking to do so before the Education, Children and Young People's Committee, it is instead pursuing a non-legislative pilot with estimated costs of £6 to £8 million, rather than progressing a bill already endorsed by this place. And crucially, it has not confirmed a date for Cabinet to decide whether to lodge a financial resolution. Promises made, promises that should be kept. Deputy Presiding Officer, this bill will fall on the 7th of September if a financial resolution is not lodged. That is a reality. And if that happens, it will not only be a loss for outdoor education, it will be a failure to uphold the democratic will of this Parliament. Let me make it clear, the financial resolution process should focus solely on affordability. That is its purpose. Issues of implementation, commencement, should be addressed at stage 3. The mechanism exists. The support is there. What is needed is action by the Scottish Government. Indeed, I could be cynical and suggest that the Scottish Government, if it wanted, could still vote this bill down at stage 3. But perhaps that's not as an attractive option as it appears. And can I take the Chamber to section 44 of the Scotland Act, which defines membership of the Scottish Government? The First Minister is one of only 3 core members required in order to constitute a government, the Lord Advocate, the Solicitor General being the other, which means that those that speak on behalf of the First Minister speak for the First Minister. The undertakings given are given for the First Minister. Promises made are made for the First Minister, because that is the Scottish Government in this Parliament and in this country. And to quote from the current First Minister from the 4th of September, a quarter of a century after its creation, this Parliament faces some of its toughest tests. My government does not command a majority in this Parliament. We have to work with others to make progress on our agenda. I extend the invitation to colleagues to work together to find that common ground. Liz Smith, MSP, has done more than accept that invitation. She has sought to find common ground, and the Scottish Government have fallen short. The Government will set this Parliament not just a tough test, it potentially puts it on a collision with this place. So can I urge the First Minister, through his Minister, to honour the commitments made to our young people, to this Parliament, to outdoor education, lodge the financial resolution, let this bill proceed, and let us do the right thing by the next generation.
Thank you. There are a number of members still wishing to participate. I want to get them included in the debate, but that will require me under Rule 8.14.3 to ask the member to move a motion without notice, and I ask Liz Smith to move such a motion. The question is that the debate be extended by up to 30 minutes. Are we all agreed?
Yes.
That is agreed, and I call John Mason to be followed by Graham Simpson. Up to 4 minutes. Mr Mason.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in the debate, and thanks to Liz Smith for giving us the opportunity. As a member of the Education Committee, I've been quite involved in this bill, hearing evidence from a variety of witnesses, from the Minister and from the member herself. And some of us from the committee visited Broomley Outdoor Centre near West Linton, and I think most of the committee members have stayed at similar centres as youngsters and have spoken about how much they benefited from that. Therefore, I think it's fair to say that all of us in the committee are enthusiastic about the intentions of the bill. But there have been some key problems with it, which prevented me from being fully supportive of it. One of these is money, and another is teachers' terms and conditions. Perhaps £30 million for the amount of money, although Liz Smith now says it could be less. The government has said it could be more. On the financial side, we presently have a system where many families are able and willing to pay the full costs. In addition, some schools are able, through fundraising, to support those pupils whose families cannot afford the full cost. This in itself can be beneficial as young people work together to raise the cash needed. However, for some schools and some families, this is not an option, and the lack of money prevents them from benefiting from this hugely valuable experience. So my comment on this point would be that we do not need legislation to enable all school pupils to go on residential outdoor education. What we need is more money. And if the government was able to find a pot of money, maybe £5 or £10 million, in order to top up what is currently happening, then virtually all pupils would be able to go on these trips. I do not find it acceptable that we should use limited public funds to subsidise well-off families who are currently paying for this. Money is tight, and I fear we do need to target funds where the needs are greatest, rather than the universal provision which Liz Smith has been calling for.
Liz Smith.
I'm grateful to Mr Mason for his engagement over this bill. He's just said that he thinks that the Scottish Government should be able to find a pot of money. So I think that slightly takes away from what he's just said since. But does he acknowledge that some of the issues about costs, about staffing, are the ones that can be identified for a Stage 2 process, and that with the commitments that have been made by the Scottish Government to lodge a financial resolution is the first important part of a parliamentary process which has seen this Parliament agree to the Stage 1 debate?
John Mason, I can give you the time back.
Thank you. Well, in a word, no. I mean, I would have liked that there had been a compromise between the member and the government, and I'm disappointed that that hasn't happened. But for me, the reason I voted against the bill, because the money is fundamental to this bill. We're all agreed that we'd like kids to go away in outdoor education, but fundamental to this bill is the money, and that's why I could not support 30 million or whatever it might be, but that was the figure that was written down. The member herself talked about, was questioning about universal provision at the Finance Committee this morning, and while I'd like to do that, that would be ideal. We just do not have the money to do that. But secondly, the present model relies very heavily on teachers volunteering and going beyond the call of duty in order to take young people away on residential weeks. And we have heard from teachers that both they and the pupils benefit from this, and relationships and learning often greatly improve after youngsters have seen their teachers, quote, in their pyjamas. The concern on this point would be that a statutory provision for all young people to go on residential courses would lead to an expectation that more teachers would be duty-bound to take part as a requirement of their job. This in turn would mean new conditions and new contracts for teachers. I really think this is a can of worms which we would be best to avoid, and which I do not believe is necessary to deal with. Therefore, in my conclusion, my asks would be twofold. One, for the government to come up with a reasonable pot of funding, perhaps like PEF money, which could be used to top up the funding which can be raised under the present system. And secondly, for Liz Smith, having received that commitment, to drop her plans for this bill, as I fear that legislation in this area, while being very well-meaning, absolutely, would do more harm than good. My hope would be that some kind of compromise like this would satisfy the intentions of both Liz Smith and Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. I call Graham Simpson to be followed by Michael Mara. Up to 4 minutes, Mr Simpson.
Yeah, many thanks, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, it's very difficult for members to get members' bills through this Parliament. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of work. And I know that because I've got a member's bill which is really up against it time-wise. But I'm speaking today because I think it's appalling that Liz Smith has had to table a motion that she has. We've had the Stage 1 debate. We should be proceeding to Stage 2. So today isn't really about the bill. There was a Stage 1 debate where people spoke passionately about their experiences of outdoor education when they were youngsters. And I remember going to a centre that my state school had, in the Lake District, and that gave me my love of the outdoors and hill walking, which I've passed on to my children. So everyone can have some kind of story that's enhanced my life. But we had that at stage one, and the bill passed at stage one. So really, the issue is not whether this is a good idea. It is. Parliament has spoken. The issue is the quite extraordinary situation that we're now in, where the government has not tabled a financial resolution, and that could kill off the bill. I just find it incredible that Parliament can vote for a bill at stage one, and the government, through process, through playing silly games, can stop it. Now, that is a disgrace. Yes, Mr Whitfield.
Very briefly, Martin Whitfield.
I'm very grateful to Graham Simpson giving it away. And isn't the danger, because this is the first time that this will have happened in the history of the Parliament, that actually what this Scottish Government doing is tempting something that would happen in the future, which effectively will mean the end of members' bills in this place?
Graham Simpson.
Well, Mr Whitfield is quite right. And by the way, I thought Martin Whitfield's earlier contribution was the most passionate that I've ever heard him speak on anything. He feels so strongly. It was a fantastic speech. But he's right. He's absolutely right. And everyone who's spoken in this supporting Liz Smith is right. We cannot have this. We cannot have a situation where Parliament votes for a bill at stage one only for the government to block it without a vote. No vote involved. We've already had that vote. But the government to block it because it just won't table a financial resolution. That is appalling. That is absolutely appalling. And if they do it this time, they could do it again. They could do it again. And I was actually astonished to find out that they could do this. Perhaps I should have known, because, as I say, I've got my own members' bill, and I'm very concerned that, if anyone plays silly games with that. Presiding officer, the minister's got to come clean here. She really has to see. She has a responsibility to this Parliament to lay that financial resolution and accept what this Parliament has already said. If there are problems, they can be ironed out at stage 2 and stage 3. That's what the process is for. The process is not so that government can block things through silly games.
Thank you. And I call the final speaker in open debate, Michael Mara, briefly.
Thank you very much, President Officer. I appreciate you accommodating me at late notice. I want to, and my support is on record for Liz Smith's fine work in this area for the Schools Residential Outdoor Education Scotland Bill that she's brought forward. I'm glad to be able to speak supporting it tonight. I agree with Mr Simpson that my colleague Martin Whitfield gave a very fine speech. It's the confluence of his two great concerns in life, the rights of children and parliamentary procedure, two things that he is very passionate about. So it's a little wonder that he spoke quite so well. I want to highlight very briefly a recent innovation at Dundee City Council, not something I often say, frankly. My local authority is not often known for great innovation, but they have recently set up a collaboration between Ancram Outdoor Centre and Douglas Wood Scout Centre near Dundee, a place that I know very well from my youth. And they have brought home, in essence, outdoor education to Dundee. They spend money locally. Young people go on trips in the surrounding area, and actually it's the immediate vicinity of the city that becomes open to them in a very real way. It's been a huge success with schools from Dundee and across Angus operating in this new area, and it's exactly the kind of innovation I think that this bill could drive forward. So it's a really important thing. I'm hopeful that the Minister is going to stand up in her conclusion remarks and say, actually, we've all been wrong this evening. that this is not the approach that the government has taken, and she'll tell us when the financial memorandum is actually going to come forward. I genuinely hope that that is the case, because I think this parliamentary process, as colleagues have pointed out, is incredibly important. John Mason set out his clear and principled position, I think, about the financial concerns that he has around the bill. The government could have taken a similar approach. It could have set out those concerns at stage 1 and voted against the bill, but they did not. They did not. They also have, as members have pointed out, the opportunity to vote down the bill or vote against the bill at stage 3. There's the opportunity at stage 2 to amend it significantly. What they cannot do is take the cowardly way out of this situation and create a deeply concerning precedent for Parliament, where the will of Parliament is ignored, where they are purposely find a way around it by failing on the point of procedure to move forward a law that has been voted for in principle by Parliament and which should have the scrutiny of Parliament. I think a failure to do otherwise would be deeply concerning. I look forward to the Minister's closing remarks, because I really genuinely hope that she has listened tonight, but that she will bring the right answer and that she will make sure that this comes forward as a financial memorandum so that Parliament's process can be held.
Thank you. That concludes the open debate. I call on Natalie Dawn-Innes to respond to the debate. Minister, around 7 minutes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'd firstly like to thank all those members who have contributed to today's debate, and also my thanks to reiterate my recognition of the important role played by residential outdoor education in the development of our children and young people. I also thank Liz Smith for her continued work to raise the awareness of the importance of residential education. Now, there are many examples of impactful residential outdoor education and wider outdoor learning provision in the Fife and Mid-Scotland region, some of which we've already heard about today. This includes the PGL Dalguise Centre, whose outdoor adventure activities can support development of key life skills for young people. And there are a number of other examples that are having hugely positive impacts, and I want to be clear that I share the enthusiasm around that. But residential experiences may not be suitable for all learners, and so having other outdoor learning opportunities available for children and young people is very important. Mr McGregor rightly highlighted the benefits that outdoor learning in all its forms has for children and young people. A good example of this in the region is Fife Council's own non-residential outdoor education centre at Lochore Meadows, which has a variety of adaptive equipment and accessible facilities for inclusive provision. Indeed, Fife Council's Outdoor Learning Skills Framework sets out how education practitioners can deliver progressive outdoor learning experiences. Yes.
Graham Simpson.
Can I thank the Minister for taking the intervention? We don't really need to hear all this. All we need to know is the government going to lay a financial resolution by September the 26th? That's all we need to know.
Minister.
I thank Mr Simpson. I will be getting on to that. I have a lot to say and I have less time to say it in now. Limekilns Primary in Fife demonstrates how localised outdoor learning activities can form part of the regular educational experiences of its pupils. The school has leased a piece of local vacant land that they've turned into a thriving community garden, with each class looking after their own raised bed. The children are outdoors all year round, building strong ties with their community. And as the seasons change, they discover new things, getting involved in that together. These positive and inspiring examples of how outdoor learning in all its forms is being provided to deliver both personal and educational outcomes for pupils is not unique to Fife and Mid-Scotland, though. Staff and learners at Cedar Bank on ASN School in West Lothian have found that dedicated 3-year outdoor learning programme benefits learners, providing rich opportunities to connect with nature, to care for living things and to develop lifelong skills. Now, all of these examples, and I have more, but I want to respond to the points raised in the debate, show that provision of impactful outdoor learning is already a key part of education and youth work, with or without legislation, and that provision is varied, reflecting the diversity of needs of our children and young people. Focusing on only one form of outdoor learning risks overlooking what may work best on the ground, and what enabling measures may be most supportive in continuing to improve this provision.
Liam Kerr.
I'm very grateful. I've sat through this whole debate, and I think it all does come down to exactly the point that Graham Simpson has made. So could the Minister answer the challenge from Graham Simpson? Will she announce the financial resolution? Yes or no?
Minister.
I will now respond to some of the points in the debate, but I did want to cover the general idea of outdoor learning in all its forms. So with respect to the current Members' Bill on residential outdoor education, I do recognise the support for the general principles shown by Parliament at stage 1. Whether or not Government will lodge a motion for a financial resolution for this bill is a matter of ongoing consideration. The financial Of course.
Liz Smith.
Can I ask the Minister, it's not just a matter of ongoing discussions, it's a matter about parliamentary democracy. Does the Minister actually recognise that for a stage 1 debate to be undermined by a government that is unwilling to lay a financial resolution after the Parliament has voted favour of that stage 1, does she think that is democratic?
Minister, I can give you the time back for the interview.
As I have said, this is still being considered by Government. The financial resolution is a legitimate and an important process set out in the standing orders to ensure that Ministers and Government can exercise their responsibility and their accountability for appropriate management of the Scottish budget. And this is not a unique power or position to Scotland. I think I need to make some progress. So in terms of specific government proposals relating to Ms Smith's bill, in line with my commitment made at committee on the 11th of June, that I'd be happy to discuss proposed amendments, I did discuss areas for potential stage 2 amendments with Liz Smith at our meeting on the 1st of July. At this meeting, she indicated she would be open to a potentially more targeted approach, something that's been very welcome, and a change in the commencement provisions. But I've made clear to Ms Smith that procedurally, if I could just finish this point, I've made clear to Ms Smith that procedurally we're not at the point where producing draft legal text of stage 2 amendments is appropriate, and doing so would preempt Government's decision on whether or not to lodge a motion for financial resolution, which we will confirm by the 26th of September.
Liz Smith.
Would the Minister be able to tell me, in terms of the suggestions that I have made, what is the Government's stance on the proposals that I have brought to the table? Because that's absolutely essential if we're going to move any further on this financial resolution. Minister.
The proposals that Ms Smith brought forward have been very welcome and have helped to inform the Government's decision on the financial resolution, and I've been very clear that I am very thankful for the effort that the member has made and the ways that the member is willing to change some of the aspects of the bill. Now, I'd like to make progress, please. In relation to the affordability, now, introducing new duties to fund in the current financial context forces extremely difficult choices about what to defund in order to accommodate any new expenditure. And even in a targeted form, a potential annual recurring cost of between £15.3 million to £16.8 million would require significant adjustments within the education portfolio budget. And I hear what members are saying around a preventative spend. There are many aspects of the education portfolio budget that are a preventative spend. Now, Ms Smith has not offered any suggestions about what in education could be stopped in preference for residential outdoor education when ministers bring forward a budget for this Parliament's consideration. And this difficulty, I think, is actually compounded by the fact that the total potential costs, and this is something that I've discussed with Ms Smith at length, remain unclear due to outstanding gaps in the data available and assumptions underpinning the proposed delivery approach. I have discussed these issues with the member and they do remain outstanding. Can I get the time back, Presiding Officer?
I can give you the time back, Minister. Michael Mara, briefly.
I do appreciate the Minister giving way. I mean, she's making some, I think, legitimate points regarding the prioritising of spending. That's clear. What Parliament is saying quite clearly tonight, and who said stage 1, is that withholding a financial memorandum as part of the process is not a legitimate way for you to make that decision. It's absolutely essential it's brought forward so Parliament can scrutinise at that point. Anything else would be profoundly undemocratic.
I think I've been clear around Parliament's intention to bring forward a decision on the financial resolution. I will move on to some of the other issues around affordability. So Mr Mason rightly brought up the issues around the workforce, and I would just like to correct Mr Ross. I did not feel it was Ms Smith's responsibility to negotiate teacher contracts, absolutely not. I did, however, think it was reasonable for Ms Smith, who has assumed that teacher participation would continue on a voluntary basis, to meet with the unions, to listen to their concerns and their views around this bill. From my own meeting with representatives of the 5 main professional associations, I haven't had assurance on this, and I think it's important that Ms Smith is hearing this from all stakeholders who would be involved. Now, I appreciate time is short, so in concluding, I do thank Liz Smith again for raising the profile and the discussion around residential outdoor education in Scotland.
Point of order, Martin Whitfield.
Presiding Officer, I seek the Chair's guidance as to the expectation of a financial memorandum as accompanied in Rule 9.3 of this Parliament's standing orders, where my understanding is that it states that it is the responsibility of the financial memorandum to set out the estimate savings and changes to revenues, rather than, as we've heard in some of the debate this afternoon, the pros or cons of the actual sense of the bill. Is my understanding of the financial memorandum right? And would it be correct to say that it is through the financial memorandum that these issues are addressed, rather than the failure to deliver a motion for a financial memorandum?
I thank Mr Whitfield for your point of order. It will not surprise you to hear that I will wish to reflect further on the point of order you make before making any substantive response. Minister, if you could conclude.
Thank you. I was just concluding, Presiding Officer. So, in response to the direct question from Ms Smith, with respect to the current Members' Bill, I do want to assure members that Government is continuing to carefully consider the matter of whether to lodge that financial resolution. We will confirm our position by the 26th of September. I appreciate I haven't had time to respond to all the points raised. I'm happy to take another intervention if that's...
Pamela Conglancy, briefly.
I thank the Minister for taking the intervention. Can the Minister confirm when Cabinet discussed the financial resolution?
Minister.
I can't confirm that at this point, but I can confirm to Parliament that it will be that I will advise Parliament of the decision around this by the 26th of September. I appreciate that I have not had time to respond to all the points raised in the debate today. I'm sure committee members will have plenty of questions for me in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the debate, and I close this meeting of Parliament.